Have you ever read an official government statement and just got that feeling, that nagging feeling that you're missing the real story? Well, today we're going to do something interesting. We're going to take just one of those sentences and pull it apart piece by piece. And we're not just going to see what it says, but what it might be trying to hide in plain sight. So here it is, this one sentence. This is our entire source for today. Now, on the surface, it seems pretty dry, right? It's formal, it's official, it sounds totally straightforward. But I promise you, packed inside these few words is a whole story about exclusion, about being incredibly specific, and about one giant unanswered question. So, that's the big question, isn't it? What can one sentence of government policy really tell us if we just slow down and actually look at it? Let's break it down and find out. Okay, first things first, let's look at the who. The policy names two very, very different kinds of groups that we're suddenly not allowed in. And you've got to see the contrast here. On the one hand, you have foreigners. That is an incredibly broad term. That could be literally anyone. Tourists, journalists, students, you name it. But right next to it, the policy gets totally laser-focused. Human rights organizations. Now, that's not an accident. It tells you right away the government had two types of targets in mind. The general and the very, very specific. And it doesn't even stop there. The policy actually gets even more specific. It gives an example by name, Amnesty International. Now, when you call out an organization like that by name, it's a huge signal. It tells you that groups focused on monitoring human rights weren't just some afterthought. They were a primary target of this ban. Okay, so we're starting to get a picture of who was banned. Now let's look at the next part of this puzzle, the when and the where. The date is so precise, 1985. This wasn't some law that's been on the books forever. No, this was put in place in a very specific year, which tells us it was almost certainly a reaction to something happening on the ground at that exact moment. And just like the year, the location is incredibly specific, Punjab. This wasn't a ban on foreigners entering India. It was a targeted restriction on just one state. And that geographical focus, that's super important. It tells us whatever the government was concerned about, it was concentrated right there in that one region. All right, so let's bring the full sentence back together. We've figured out who was banned, and we know exactly when and where. We've got the facts laid out. But now we get to what I think is the most important part of this whole thing. You see, let's switch our thinking a little bit. Let's stop looking at what the sentence tells us and start thinking about what it doesn't. Because with official statements, what's left out is often way more revealing than what's put in. Okay, so let's do a quick recap of what we do know. The policy tells us the WHO, foreigners, and these specific human rights groups. Check.
It tells us the what, a total ban on entry. No ambiguity there. Check.
And it gives us the where and the when. Punjab in 1985. The context is locked in tight. Check. So we have the subject, we have the action, we have the location and the time. It seems like we have all the pieces, but what's the single most critical element that is completely, totally missing from this statement? The why. The source never, ever gives a reason. It just presents this ban as a simple, objective fact. There's zero justification, zero explanation for why the government felt it had to take such a huge step. The motivation is just gone. And that omission, that's almost certainly deliberate. It frames a massive political decision as if it's just a simple administrative update, and that takes it out of the world of debate. And that, right there, is the biggest takeaway from all of this. When a source gives you the what, the who, the where, and the when, but it completely leaves out the why, it's doing more than just stating a fact. It's really an invitation. It's asking you to think critically, to go look for more context, and to never, ever just take an official statement at face value. It's asking you to become the investigator.